One big hand.
Hi everyone. Today we'd like to give a presentation about hate speech, and we are going to discuss how problematic the problem is, and also we are going to discuss how we can raise the awareness of the problem. First, we have a video we'd like to show you. This is what actually happened in Austria a few years ago. It's a little bit shocking and unbelievable, isn't it? So here's today's contents. First, we'd like to look at what is hate speech, the definition and current situation of hate speech happening in Japan. And also, after that, we'd like to look at the regulation law against hate speech, and also we are going to look at the relationships between the law and freedom of speech. And in the next, we'd like to look at NIST's reaction or stance against hate speech. And after that, we'd like to finish our presentation with making a suggestion. First, let's look at what is hate speech. And actually, there is no clear and official definition of hate speech made. However, have you ever seen these leaflets or posters before? These posters are often made on the stations or some public facilities. And on this poster, hate speech is regarded as words or speech excluding or discriminating a specific people. And actually, the Ministry of Justice, Home Show, made a research about hate speech, and they investigated the current situation of hate speech. However, as I said, there is no clear and official definition of hate speech, so it is hard to know all the numbers of the hate speech happening in Japan. So they only focused on some major activists who showed their demonstrations or campaigns on the internet. So they often showed the video on of their demonstrations on the internet. So they checked out those information and videos and counted the numbers. And they conducted the research for 3 years, and they said over 1,100 hate speech happening in Japan. And in around here, in Chu area, 11% of them happened. And there is a various themes in speech, like for example, some historical problems like comfort women, and some territorial problems like Takeshima. So this is the basic information of hate speech. And next, we'd like to look at regulation law against hate speech.
Last year, on May 24th, the regulation law against hate speech was enacted, and it was enforced on June 3rd last year. And the law allows legally governments to regulate hate speeches in public, and the statement shows that citizens should engage in contribution to realizing the society that has no hate speech. And also, it says local governments should engage in conducting measures depending on each area's situation. This law shows the parliament's position that the hate speech shouldn't be done in Japan. However, there are problems. One, it's only conceptual law, so there's no punishment. And this is because there is a conflict with the freedom of speech. The freedom of speech is one of the very important rights in Japanese constitutions. So with the conflict with the freedom of speech, the regulation law can be the weak.
Some people say, especially some members of parliament say, talking law violates the freedom of speech. But here's what we think. Hate speech itself violates the other people's personal rights, and freedom is justified only when you don't violate other people's rights. So hate speech, which violates other people's rights, should be regulated strictly. If you're still concerned about this problem, why don't you think about the intimidation or defamation, which is 脅迫罪and 侮辱罪 in Japanese. I think they will see that freedom of speech is not actually completely free.
So, as our action, we contacted Nagoya City Hall and asked what they're doing to deal with hate speech. And firstly, the answer was that they are trying to increase awareness of hate speech. And secondly, there is no special regulation against hate speech. So they are focusing on making people think hate speech is bad rather than regulating it. And in terms of regulation law, Nagoya Mayor Takashi Kawamura said, freedom of speech is the most important right. It must be protected. So he's not so passionate about regulating it. But on the other hand, Aichi Governor Hideki Omura follows Osaka City or Kawasaki City's idea, which is using public facilities for hate speech should be banned.
So finally, we suggest that Nagoya City should make an ordinance that regulates using public facilities for hate speech, like the Omura said and Osaka City and Kawasaki City is promoting. Because there is a Nagoya City ideal vision of this on the human rights, and it says no discrimination and prejudice. Therefore, the Nagoya City should regulate the hate speech. And in addition, we should increase the awareness of hate speech. By doing so, by discussing, checking news, joining in a group against hate speech, and making posters, etc. By doing so, we can improve our knowledge about hate speech. And also, if many are more aware of problematic hate speech, then the government cannot ignore that problem. So that's all. Thank you for listening.